Printed House by your host Morgan. I'm using 3D printing and level 2 scale modeling. My SMART goal. I will use Tinkercad to create a small scale model of my house by the process of knowledge. I will know when I'm meeting my goal when I have the house printed. I'm able to complete my goal because I have all the needed resources like the 3D20 and my knowledge to successfully master this goal. I'm creating this because I wanted to make a house in real life, but I need blueprints, and this will be my blueprint. I'll reach my goal by day 4. Day 1, I will get started on the basement. Days 2 through 4, get at least half of the house done and printed. My challenge is to build a scale model of my house with Tinkercad. Okay, about my technology. Tinkercad uses a simplified constructive solid geometry method of constructing models and designs, also made up of primitive shapes that are either solid or whole. By combining them together, you're able to create multiple different shapes of what you need and what you use. Okay, relate your launcher to the real world. Here's a 3D printed house, and here's a really nice 3D printer that you can buy. People use a 3D printer to make and build things cheaper than buying them. What did I learn? 3D homes are unimaginably cheaper to construct. It is possible to build a complete house in 24 hours. This is a way to meet a massive demand of homes now. The second one is sustainable. The world is running out of resources, and there should be a way to address it. What problems I had? One of the problems I had was getting the house finished. I did get it finished, but it was on the last day before I started printing it. And yeah, I got it finished, and I'll show you it here in a little bit. There we go. The difference. A 3D printer will create a replica of an image referred to it. The two types of printers are also different in terms of how they function. Regular printers or 2D printers will scan an image and then use an appropriate color ink to copy an image on a flat surface, such as an A4 sheet. What did I learn? Part 2. 3D printed houses, even though they're cheaper, they're pretty expensive. 3D printed walls of the house are not thin, so this can increase the overall footprint of the structure, adding costs. Also, normally an insulation is loose filler that will run out of the walls and penetrate inside or outside. And most homeowners will have challenges getting it back in. How strong are 3D printed homes? Since the technology is still developing, it's hard to estimate precisely how long a 3D printed house will last. But the results of resilience measurements suggest that a balanced 3D printed concrete house lasts about 50 to 300 years. This is my house. I replicated, and more pictures of it. Okay. My challenge is to make a scale model of my house with Tinkercad. I did achieve my goal, by getting the house complete and printed. Would I do this launch again? No. I've done it too many times now. This launcher is fun and by recreating your house and doing other things with Tinkercad. The main success I had was getting the house complete. I hardly learned anything at this point from Tinkercad because I've done it so many times. This launcher is fun, but challenging for the person if it's their first time.
You said it's cheaper to build a 3D printed house than it is to create one. You're way off because what you're looking at is just materials of cement and stuff, right? Cement is kind of horrible by itself for building infrastructure like that.
Oh, word?
Usually they put other materials in it too.
Oh, word?
And the machinery taking to 3D print that house is ridiculously expensive.
Kevin and I also did not ask for your input.
I guess I'll stick with one.
I don't know if he's getting too close or not. It's like, hey, look at my phone.
Yeah, it's good.
This is my house,
Jackson?
and here's the basement.
Where's the basement going to the house?
The basement
On the
goes into
bottom.
this little slit, and it attaches right there. It's a very small basement.
I live in a basement.
Okay, no. Okay.
Modeling my house. I will use Tinkercad to 3D model my house using trial and error until proportions look correct. In these 4 days, I will build each floor of my house in Tinkercad. No, I only got one. I'll print my house on day 4. Once I have completed my modeling, I will be able to complete this goal because I have used Tinkercad many times and I'm familiar with the 3D printing process. I'm creating this because I think it would be cool to have a model of my house. I did something similar last time, but I attempted to assemble my house using pieces of cardboard and it really did not work. Architects design all sorts of structures from houses to malls to community centers. I'll be making a model of my house using this launcher. I'm using Tinkercad to make my house. I'm doing the modeling launcher, which I can follow relatively closely in order to make a model of my house. Scale models are used to demonstrate the effects that physics have on an object without using as many resources as a full-size model. Models very similar to the one I'm making, are used by architects to plan out projects before construction begins. I think I said that. Models are used to plan out projects before construction begins. There's my house. I learned that models are used for a lot of things, and architectural models are used before large projects are built. Computer graphics models are much easier to work with than physical models, which I've learned. Trying to make the scale uniform was the most difficult part of the process, but I used only the finest eyeballing to complete my model. What? Templates are very useful, however, I ripped mine into pieces without thinking about it, so I had to start from scratch. And that took a lot of time because I had to redo all the scale. It's not a bad idea to start with modeling smaller objects first so that you have practice, but I didn't do that because I didn't have time. So. On day 1, began just laying out the basic shapes of my house. I roughly modeled the exterior walls. My house is split level, which made printing this pretty hard because I had to figure out the distance. And I didn't get it right, it's a little far, but. Then I added a bunch of interior walls. See, around there. There's still a lot left to add. I struggled to figure out the pitch of the sunroof ceiling, but I figured that out. So I refined a lot of things. I was gone this day, but I made up by working on it the night after. I made my living room, my kitchen, and the rest of the sunroom. I learned that I much prefer using Tinkercad on my home PC. Just runs better, and I ended up being able to make my upstairs. I didn't have time to do the basement, but I would have liked to. Yeah, the stairs were the hardest part to model. In conclusion, I successfully made a model of the main level of my house, so I met my SMART goal. I managed my time well, working on the house each day and actually keeping up with my journal. I wonder how much better I can make my next model. I want to make a complete model of my house. I will keep the model and work on it next year if I decide to take this class again. Using physical materials to make the model was much more difficult using Tinkercad.
Could you split your house into like 4 pieces, then put it together at the end?
I could have.
Auto, where's your print?
Oh,
Oops.
that might have solved your problem with the split level.
Yeah, but then it wouldn't be stuck together quite so well. Can you see it?
Up. Down.
Oh, you're good.
There you go.
Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm.
Woo. I forgot. I forgot to turn that off. It was basically, it's a game music I actually put on there. Oops, can you actually undo that quick? Oops, I forgot about that. This is it. Oops. This second. That was an accident that we did that.
Not an accident.
It's just a speaker.
What the freezer?
Whoops. There. Game development by I use level 1 stencil software. This stencil software where you can create games, different types of games. I'll be using the stencil software to continue with the game development. The game will take at least half the screen. That's at least my goal, for it to at least take half your screen. I should be able to get this done because I have the days I've been gone. I'll also be working on it if I can. Because I downloaded the software in my house. Very relevant. I like making games and it's something I want to further develop my skills on making games. We working on it each day. I have not been gone from being sick, or if I have time at home, I have been working on it. This launcher allows me to recreate or develop a game of my choosing. Relating my launcher to real, my launcher allows me to make memory or create. These games that people develop allow people to play and have fun with them. This is the game I'm developing, and this is the game some other company or person developed. What did I learn? Different types of styles games can have different types of code. For example, Java is different from the one I'm using right now. For the game I'm using is a different type from Java. Java is the one, for example, we use for code.org. It's the JavaScript. And the different types have different properties, such as JavaScript uses sprites, as Jackson has learned last year, and sprites don't have collision, and the actors of the one I'm using have pre-programmed collision, which I can't turn off, which makes it more difficult for working with stuff if you want. For example, if you want a character to fly past someone, but you're on a 2D plane, you can't do that because it's going to fall. Your game's going to fall apart. If you do not pay attention to the, and I recommend after like testing your game, after a little bit after you've done some coding, you test it every time because some of the codes can mess up your early code, which if you just test that at the end of it, you don't know which code is messing with which code, and you eventually you have a choice of individually removing the code and undoing it, see, remove the code, test it, see if that was a problem. Adding it, you don't know if it's multiple codes, if it's just recommended to test your game as you develop it. Well, problems with it. Me being sick and not having days work on this, I try to work on it as much as I can at home and stuff like that. Like I said, I've installed it at home on my personal computer to try to work at home. I'm not able to show any of the actual final result. That would have to require me to publish it, which it would not allow me to because it's not a final. It's not a completely working game yet. So I can't show you, but I can show you some of the things, pictures. This is basically just your code. This is a coding area you have to work with when you're working on this system. It's kind of gets tricky if you do not read everything. This is where when you first create the game, you'll click this, it'll pop up the screen. That'll allow you to type in the game, type the game you want, the name, the screen size, then this is the edit screen properties. Screen 1, each screen is like different properties. If like, for example, if your character enter a house, you want to change this setting, that would be a totally different screen. You'd have to develop and create and do all the properties again for that specific screen. Some code does not like work. Like if you try to delete it, it will refuse to delete. The only way you can delete code on this system is to drag it and bring it to the garbage bin, which is covered by the screen properties. This game stuff, this shows you each of the characters in there. Each of the characters, each screen, what each screen characters have, each screen. You can also choose if you want mobile, desktop, loader. You can add make group. You can use controls, controller, keyboard, stuff like that. Oops. You can have different extensions. You can make it for a web browser. You can add little in-game purchases and stuff like that. Which was one of the options. I don't think I showed that because I wouldn't be doing that for school. Oops. This basically just this is when I first started working on this game. Was basically what I was designed it originally. Conclusion. I was sick for most of the project. I was able to work on. I did not get to work on it during class too much, but I was able to complete my SMART goal, which was just to continue working and developing the game. If this was earlier in the year, like a week before, if I started this project a couple weeks ago, I would continue doing it because game development takes a lot of time. Things. It's very fun. I will not be showing as of right here. I will not be showing you the final product because that would require me to actually publish it. Vocabulary. You wanna roll that one dice, Saban?
Sure.
Who would have guessed?
Not me.
Oh, Devin's managed to break the dice off that one a couple of times.
It's like your fourth time doing laser engraving.
No. 6. Wait, 6. Probably.
I've done 3D printing sometimes, so.
Laser engraving. My technology is to use laser engraver and launcher. Excuse me, is ULS laser engraving. My challenge is to create an original design that is able to be cut or design that can be laser engraved. I will use a Muse laser engraver to create a trigger for my crossbow in multiple materials. By using the Muse laser engraver, that was meant to be in like multiple different ways, I guess. Anywho, I will be able to do this in the 4 days given, such as a thicker trigger for the crossbow in different ways or designs, and maybe be able to cut something else if I finish early. I will be able to complete this goal because I have all the needed resources like the Muse laser engraver and the software that goes with it. I also have prior knowledge of using this, which should help. I'm creating this because my trigger recently broke, and I'm in need of one, and one that is better. I'll reach my goal by researching. On day 1 and 2, I will experiment with the drawing of the trigger along with the same thing on day 3, and on day 4, I will be cutting. This is one of the biggest laser engravers in the world. It is used for cutting pieces of sheet metal, which are used for parts of big objects. Big, like huge. This relates to the real world because we are doing similar things with our engraver, just scaled down and not for business. That's ours. That's the big one again. The guy. No. I learned how to modify parts of a cut. I also learned how to make any cut work. Hot glue gun. It will work 99.9999% of the time. I learned to not try and take apart things that were working.
That's a piece of paper.
I learned to try not to take apart things that already work, because they will break. As seen here, it broke. What problems did I have? My main problem with this project was the second wood crossbow breaking while trying to disassemble it. In this picture, it's easy to find a problem. The problem was that this material is very reflective, and it was a little harder to make it visible, like with lines. Modifying step 1. First, I was modifying the triggers since I broke the one on the wooden crossbow, so I started to make a new trigger by hand, and one by using a certain mechanic in the laser application. New. Thicker. Second step of this was modifying the launcher part, which is like this. Oops, I did not do the job. Okay. That part. I edited small parts of it to make it longer. It was made up of many assorted small lines, so it was very easy to modify. Day 1 was spent making 3 different prototypes of triggers. I made one by hand, and I used the anchor mechanic for the other 2. On the second day, I mostly just tried to refine the triggers, and I cut them, which did not take long. I ended up going with the one that was made using the anchor mechanic. Day 3, I decided to modify the launcher part of the launcher, and I ended up cutting it out. When disassembling the OG launcher, it broke. So I started making a brand new one. The one panned out a little bit better than the original. Broke it, and that's new. It says Zaven show final product.
Nice reminder.
It's loaded.
Oh, it's loaded. Okay. Wait.
Yeah.
this part is longer.
Yeah, this shortest sounds slow.
What? My challenge is to create an original design that's able to be cut or a design that can be laser engraved. I believe I met my SMART goal, even though I broke one of my previous projects. I was able to modify 2 parts of the launcher, which is more than I had originally intended. I'll do this launcher again, but I would not break one of my prototypes, and I can't do this launcher again because I've got a week left. Anywho, I like that it gives me the freedom to do whatever I want. I had major success with learning on how to use certain mechanics within the laser application. I learned how to use an anchor mechanic within the laser application and also how to modify parts of a cut. The process was very smooth for me during all of the 4 days, even though I was set back a lot when my other prototypes broke.